Jazzy, thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? I'm so excited, and this is such an honor.
What really drove you to wanting to do this? Because you managed to interview some of the biggest stars in the world, right? I mean, DJ Khaled, Jill Biden. I mean, so many people at 13 years old, and uh, myself, of course. And I don't. I'm not saying because I'm a big star, but it's not easy to get a hold of me.
Well, first of all, Mr. Daymond John, that is a very good question. You got me stumped for a minute there, so I had to really think. But I feel like what really makes my channel unique is that, first of all, I'm 13 years old now, so even though I'm growing, I still feel like I'm able to ask questions that not many people would expect a kid to ask. I get to ask questions from a kid's perspective, and I also get to respond to the interviewee's answer in a way that any other kid would answer a question.
What kind of advice would you give to somebody if you're like, listen, use these things if you can, or think about it like this: when you're just having normal conversation with people that you're trying to get information from so you can have the best knowledge of this person.
My advice will definitely be, first of all, I feel like everyone knows this now, but look the person that you're talking to in the eye, because that's a sign of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't look them in the eye, that's a sign of disrespect, and it makes it seem like you're not really listening, or you really just don't care. Or you're nervous, so it's one of three.
So I think research is extremely, extremely important. But who told you that you should do that? Or where did you come up with that idea that you needed to do so much research? I mean, you're talking really well-known people. I mean, listen, if I interview Jay-Z, I don't know how much research I need to do with him. I think I'm a fan of Jay-Z. I think I know everything. If I interviewed Jill Biden.
I feel like it's important to do research because, first of all, even though you might be the person's number one fan, you might be the biggest fan in the world, there's other things to look at when it comes to the personal lives or anything else that has to do with how they got up to the level of success that they have now that we may not know. But if you do research, they might open up to you. They might be able to feel so comfortable during the interview that they're just like, well, she's asking me this question. I might as well just bring up this topic as well. Like you were saying with you, even though on Shark Tank, many people, they might not do as much research as they need. They just think about your clothing companies. I feel like even though people know you for your clothing company, FUBU, I feel like it's also important to research about FUBU as well. Because you never know what you can, let's say that you're trying to pitch an idea of a clothing company. Maybe you can create a bond over what you research about FUBU, and maybe you guys can have a connection because of clothing.
I want people to learn from this because this is really, really key. If you ask Daymond, hey, how did you start? I'm like a parrot, right? We've all told our story a million times, whoever we are, right? Because you hear it all the time. Hey, who are you? Oh, where you come from? What's your family, right? And we're no. Daymond John's gonna go, oh, how did I start football? In 1989, I stood on the corner, right? Now you're gonna go and ask me a different angle of it. You may say, why decide on that corner? Why decide on this piece? People love to talk about themselves, and it's refreshing to hear that I get to have a different conversation with you. You made me think of a different aspect of something that I've done, maybe in a different way, and we have a more engaging conversation. So that's what we call open a new file, and I think that you do an excellent job by it. How do you have fun in an interview?
I feel like having fun in an interview is more so being able to talk about topics that you find very interesting that has something to do with the person. Or even if you're a journalist, you have to love what you do. So I'm not a journalist just to be a journalist. I'm not just interviewing because, well, I'm interviewing. Oh, well, I'm making money. Why not, right? No, I'm doing it because it's fun. And I get to have these super cool experiences going to many different events that kids like me are not going to normally. I mean, like Rolling Loud, kids can't even go there. It's like 16 and up, 17 and up. And I'm 13. So it's very cool to be in those spaces and also represent where I come from. And being able to have fun, that's very important. And creating a space for the interviewee to speak more about themselves, that's also very important when it comes to an interview.
What was the first interview that you did?
Well, my first ever interview was with Greg Popovich. He's the coach for the San Antonio Spurs. And
that's a pretty big first interview.
exactly. But I got to be honest with my whole journey. I have to say it wasn't easy at first. My dad, he took me to meet and greets. And sometimes we had to wait for interviews
Mm-hmm.
in the freezing cold. I live in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's cold. It gets
Mm-hmm.
when it's winter time, it gets cold. And when I say it gets cold, it gets cold.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, it wasn't the easiest, but I have to say I had a lot of fun.
What would you suggest somebody else does if they say, I don't really know what I want to do, if it's going to be anything, but this is what I should at least start to do to see if I like it?
Well, the advice I would give is more so have discipline, but also have a mindset of being in the moment as well. Because if you focus too much about, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, or, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to accomplish this, instead of actually going towards and doing it. And I feel like discipline is what got me to where I am today. Consistency as well. Being consistent in whatever you do in life is what's going to get you to your goal and to achieve your goal, because if you're consistent, then you're going to keep on doing and doing and doing, and you're going to keep on trying to achieve your goals no matter what. And no matter what's going to get in your way, no matter what obstacles or anything that gets in your way, you're going to be able to go over it and kick the door down.
A lot of people would have said, I don't have a degree in journalism. I didn't work at a TV station or a radio station. I haven't formalized and done this before. So what do you say to people? They just have a lack of confidence. And how did you overcome those hurdles that most people have, those mental hurdles, by saying, no, I'm going to do this. I don't need it all. I don't need all that. I'm just going to come at it naturally.
Well, first off, to really think about what you said, if someone feels like they need to have a degree to do it, I mean, I feel, well, I don't have a degree either. I'm 13, and I'm living proof of self-assessment as well.
Are you a CEO that knows that you've done everything to master your craft? Now you need to take your personal brand to the next level? Well, I love working one-on-one with game-changing CEOs. And if you're interested, reach out. Go to workwithashark.com and fill out the form. Now, back to the video. Let's talk about that Jay interview. How did that happen? How did it come to play?
Me and my dad, we both heard that Jay-Z was in town. So my dad said, well, why not try to get an interview from him, because, well, he's in town, and we felt like we had a chance. So we decided to go to a place that Jay-Z was, and we created questions. We did a lot of research, and we created questions. And then we went, and we waited for a while. We waited for about 2 days. And
2 days?
2 days, yeah. Not 2 days straight, but we obviously went home, and then we came back the next morning before school. A lot of people, they think that I got the interview the first day, which really didn't happen. The first day, I went up to Mr. Jay-Z, and he saw me. He gave me a fist pump and everything, but I don't think that he heard me when I asked him, hey, Mr. Jay-Z, can I please have an interview with you? Can I please ask you a couple questions? I don't think he heard me. So I was kind of discouraged after that, but my dad, he helped me out, and he cleared my head. He was just like, yeah, tomorrow before you go to school, we're going to go try, and we're going to see if we can get the interview. So the next morning, we got the interview. I mean, I love speaking about that story because it's so important to me, and hopefully one day I can speak to Mr. Jay-Z again.
But did you know that at that moment that he didn't hear you? Because I can see that if you had the guts to come back day 2, and then you talk to him and he goes, what? Oh, sure. You probably then could have surmised, well, maybe he didn't hear me the first time. But the first time, when you're in real time, and he goes, and he said, and he keeps walking, I mean, half the people out here will be like, man, that's just a rude person, or they didn't want to do it, or they just brushed me off, and they would not want to come back the next day. Why did you allow your dad to convince you to go back the next day after you may have been thought that you were shunned? Because, if he did that on Monday, then he's going to ignore you on Tuesday.
My dad, he encouraged me to never give up. And even though it's kind of cliche to say, that is something that I feel a lot of people can learn from.
What do you take away from there that you think is something key that you really, really remembered that you took away from that interview?
one thing that is key that I really remember was when I was speaking to him and I was asking him, what advice can you give to kids that look up to you? It was a similar question to that. And he told me they have to have ultimate confidence, just like you. And first of all, I love that compliment because, well, my heart sank when he told me that. And second of all, I kept that in my head because ultimate confidence is something that I really live for. I love being able to show my personality and being able to tell people, hey, even though sometimes we get discouraged, it's important to be confident. And, Jay-Z, he's so inspiring to me because, well, we're from similar neighborhoods. We're both from Brooklyn, New York.
And I know that video went crazy. Is that the one that you got the biggest response from? Because a lot of times it could be, great. Listen, Jay-Z, I'm a big fan of what he's done and his wife, his music as well as business-wise, and how he represents New York. But, I've seen that the virality may come from the person that many people may not know as well, but they've said something so poignant or the timing was right. So was that the biggest one that you've gotten? And if so, then what was number two? Meaning, from a virality standpoint.
Well, I have to say it was one of the biggest. I had a lot of big interviews that, that had a lot of views on and a lot of people really enjoyed. But I feel like Jay-Z was most definitely top three. Mm-hmm. Maybe number one, actually. Yeah, number one. I have to say my second one had to be. That's a hard question. Yeah, it was definitely you.
Me?
Hey guys, I'm here with Mr. Daymond John.
Daymond John's entrepreneurial streak started early as a kid growing up in Queens, New York. He found success with the streetwear brand FUBU.
Yes, because a lot of people, they loved when you were talking about your upbringing.
No. Okay.
And they were
I was not trying to set that up. I thought it was going to be Biden. Miss Biden.
Course,
it's the wife of the president. It's the first lady. So excellent.
Yeah, Miss Joe Biden, she's definitely top three up there. But I have to say, for me, you were up there somewhere as well, and Mr. Kendrick Lamar as well. Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, a lot of people. I had a lot of great responses for a lot of my videos. Nicki Minaj, I know a lot of people loved the video.
I would think Nicki would be really great because she's so cool and she just is so off the top, over the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had so much fun during that interview. I was actually trying to get a Nicki Minaj interview before that. I think it was about a couple months before that, but I wasn't able to get it. So I was really glad and I was very excited in that moment that I actually got the interview.
So congratulations on everything. I've already learned as well, that sometimes when I do interviews that I'm doing the right thing. A lot of people don't realize that there's a very symbiotic relationship that you can learn from anybody. It doesn't have to be somebody up here. Like, I consider you somebody who's communicating in a new world, and you're finding really great ways to communicate with people. And whether they're going to interview Jay-Z or Biden or anybody like that, I think all the key things that you said right here, so many people can learn from. And I really appreciate the fact that your parents have been able to harness this talent and this curiosity of you to bring it to all of us.
Well, thank you for that. I had so much fun with this interview. My family, they're super supportive, and I learned a lot from you as well. And I love the way that you were able to hold the conversation and really bring a lot more information out of me when we were speaking as well. And it's not even a specific question. It was all the questions. So I definitely learned how and what I can improve on when it comes to holding conversations as well. So thank you.
Well, you are truly a gift. You're amazing. And thank you for what you do. And I wish there was so many more young adults like you who have a passion and drive. So all the best. I will see you at the top. We need you on Shark Tank because hopefully one day you will be able to replace Barbara because she does not take her medicine. All right?
Oh, wow. Okay. And by the way, guys, this is my first ever podcast. So this was really cool. And this was a great first experience. And hopefully we can do this in the future, right?
Absolutely.
But next time, I'm going to be interviewing you, okay?
Of course. I wouldn't have it any other way because you're the best at it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, buddy. If you're a CEO like I was, where I mastered my craft, but I know that I needed to master my personal brand, well then, you've come to the right guy. I love working with CEOs that are already game changers and just need to take it to the next level, but nobody out there has experienced what they have experienced, and nobody out there can take them to where they want to go. Well, I can. And if you want to find out more about it, reach out. Go to workwithashark.com. And thanks for watching. And make sure you subscribe. Peace.